Bhagavan vacha
Bhagavan Bhaja
imam vivasvate yogam imam vivasvate
Imanavasvata Yogam
proktavan aham avyayam proktavan
Yuktavanya Aham Avyam
vivasvan manave praha
Vivasvana Manave Prabha
manur ikshva kave bravet.
Manu Ikshava Kave Pravit.
Translation. The personality of Godhead Lord Sri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. Okay, so in the third chapter, Krishna was telling Arjun that how this forceful enemy, which is actually making future undesirable for us, is very, very powerful. And how to curb this enemy? From the very beginning, by controlling the minds and senses. And now Krishna is telling the science, how this science of Bhagavad Gita was given in the past. So he has given this science to great saintly persons, saintly kings, and they were able to use it. So Arjuna is also king, he can also use this science. So here Krishna is saying, I instructed this science of yoga to sun god Vivaswan. So these different demigods like Surya, Chandra, Varuna, these are different demigods with different designation. So sun god is a, Surya Dev is a designation, and currently the person who is sun god is Vivaswan. Just like a prime minister, president, different cabinet ministers are there for some time and they change. Similarly, these demigods, they take the service, a particular service, and they do it, and after some time it may be a different person in the same position. So when we say Indra, Indra is not the same Indra in all the yugas. In some yugas it's a different person. Name, the designation may still be Indra, still Surya Dev, but it may be a different person. So here Vivaswan is the person who is the sun god at this time when Krishna gave the signs. And what did he do? He gave it to his, this science, sun god gave to Manu. And Manu gave to his son Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku was the son. So let's read the purport and then we'll have more discussion. Anybody available to read the purport?
I can read.
Yes, Master, please go ahead.
Perfect. Herein we find the history of the Bhagavad Gita traced from a remote time when it was delivered to the royal order of all planets, beginning from the sun planet. The kings of all planets are especially meant for the protection of the inhabitants, and therefore the royal order should understand the science of Bhagavad Gita in order to be able to rule the citizens and protect them from material bondage to lust. Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. In eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the executive heads of all states and all planets are obliged to impart this lesson to the citizens by education, culture, and devotion. In other words, the executive heads of all states are intended to spread the science of Krishna consciousness so that the people may take advantage of this great science and pursue a successful path, utilizing the opportunity of the human form of life. In this millennium, the sun god is known as Vivashwan, the king of the sun, which is the origin of all planets within the solar system. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated,
I can read it.
yeah. Mhm.
यच्चक्षुरेष सविता सकलाग्रहाणां राजा समस्तसुरमूर्तिरशेषतेजा यस्याज्ञया भ्रमति संवृत्तकालचक्रो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि.
Let me worship, Lord Brahma said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is the original person and under whose order the sun, which is the king of all planets, is assuming immense power and heat. The sun represents the eye of the Lord and traverses its orbit in obedience to his order. The sun is the king of the planets and the sun god at present of the name Vivashwan rules the sun planet which is controlling all other planets by supplying heat and light. He is rotating under the order of Krishna. The Lord Krishna originally made Vivashwan his first disciple to understand the science of Bhagavad Gita. The Gita is not, therefore, a speculative treatise for the insignificant mundane scholar, but is a standard book of knowledge coming down from time immemorial. In the Mahabharata, Samti Parva 348.51-52, we can trace out the history of the Gita as follows.
त्रेतायुगादौ च ततो विवस्वान्मनवेददौ मनुश्च लोकभृत्यार्थं सूतायेक्ष्वाकवे ददौ इक्ष्वाकुना च कथितो व्याप्य लोकान् अवस्थिता.
In the beginning of the millennium known as Treta Yoga, this science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vishwan to Manu. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to his son Maharaja Ikshvaku, the king of this earth planet and forefather of the Raghu dynasty, in which Lord Ramachandra appeared. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaja Ikshvaku. At the present moment, we have just passed through 5,000 years of Kali Yuga, which lasts 432,000 years. Before this, there was Dwapara Yuga, 800,000 years, and before that, there was Treta Yuga, 1,200,000 years. Thus, some 2,005,000 years ago, Manu spoke the Bhagavad Gita to his disciple and son Maharaja Ikshvaku, the king of this planet Earth. The age of the current Manu is calculated to last some 305,000,300,000 years, of which 120,400,000 have passed. Accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to his disciple, the sun god Vivashwan, a rough estimate is that Gita was spoken at least 120,400,000 years ago. And in human society, it has been extant for 2 million years. It was re-spoken by the Lord again to Arjuna about 5,000 years ago. That is the rough estimate of the history of the Gita according to the Gita itself and according to the version of the speaker, Lord Shri Krishna. It was spoken to the sun god Vivashwan because he is also known as Kshatriya and is the father of all Kshatriyas who are descendants of the sun god or the Surya Vamsha Kshatriyas. Because Bhagavad Gita is as good as the Vedas, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this knowledge is aparusya, superhuman. Since the Vedic instructions are accepted as they are without human interpretation, the Gita must therefore be accepted without mundane interpretation. The mundane wranglers may speculate on the Gita in their own ways, but that is not Bhagavad Gita as it is. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita has to be accepted as it is from the disciplic succession, and it is described herein that the Lord spoke to the sun god spoke to his son Manu, and Manu spoke to his son Ikshvaku. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for reading. Long purpose. Okay, so a lot of points came here. So Krishna is basically telling Arjun the examples of these great saintly kings, Raj Rishis, which used to be in the past. And Krishna is telling that he gave this knowledge from time to time. Krishna gives this knowledge, and currently he was doing it to Arjun. But prior to that, Krishna said, "I given this to Sun God." Now, Prabhupada here is giving an idea to us about how Lord Krishna, he is the supreme, and from time to time he gives this knowledge, and how different personalities have different, you know, lifetime, as well as different yugas are there which last for long time, many years. So in the first paragraph here of the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning that this was delivered to the royal order of all planets beginning from Sun. So Sun is, Surya Dev is providing for all the living entities, right? Whatever energy we get here on earth, directly or indirectly, it has to be traced back, and it will be by the sun. Sun is providing for so much. The whole life is actually existing. Uh, so similarly, the kings, they protect and provide for the citizen. So when they're doing such responsible duties, they have to know the science of Bhagavad Gita. So Sun God was given this science, and then he taught it to Manu, and then Manu gave to his son Ikshvaku. And Prabhupada is mentioning here that Ikshvaku was the forefather of Lord Ramachandra. So Lord Ramchandra, he came in Raghu dynasty, and Ikshvaku is actually one of the ancestors of Lord Ram. So, citizens have to be protected not just from outside attacks, but even from inside. Inside, we are getting by attacked by uncontrolled mind and lust, and that protection also has to be provided by the head of the state. The head of the state, the king, they must make arrangements so that this uh, attack on the living beings from inside doesn't happen. So how to do that? By providing education, culture, devotion. They should have access to all of this. That way they can utilize it for their benefit and other people's benefit. And therefore Prabhupada is saying Krishna consciousness is a best solution here. If one practices Bhagavad Gita, understands and applies as Krishna has instructed to Arjun, one will conclude that yes, Krishna conscious process is the one which Krishna is recommended, and if we do that, then all these problems can find a solution. Prabhupada here is telling about the sun god and quoting from Brahma Samhita. So in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is saying that I worship the Supreme Lord Krishna, under whose order the sun is assuming immense power and heat. The sun represents the eye of the Lord and traverses its orbit in obedience to his order. So basically, sun is conducting himself according to the will of the Lord. The sun is the king of the planets, and the sun god rules the sun planet, which is controlling all other planets, right? Because providing heat, light, everything basically, and also they're all acting according to sun's gravitational force, also we understand from science. So here we understand the sun god Vivaswan is the first disciple, And Prabhupada is saying that Gita is not speculative. It's not Krishna is just speculating and coming up with some sort of a theory that maybe this is how it would have been, maybe this, that. No. This is a known fact, and this fact, this knowledge is given to Arjun right now, but also given in the past. And now Prabhupada quoting from Mahabharata. So see, so many places Prabhupada quotes from the Puranas, from the Upanishads, from the Mahabharata. So much knowledge they have. Um, they have assimilated and digested all these scriptures to give us the essence in the Bhagavad Gita. So here it is mentioned in Mahabharata that in the beginning of the millennium known as Treta Yuga. So millennium is translated as Yuga. In the beginning of this Yuga, which Yuga? Treta Yuga. This science of relationship with the Krishna Supreme was delivered by Vivaswan to Manu. So just like we have different months in our particular or different so many hours, we have 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour in a day, right? 24 hours we have. Similarly, in Lord Brahma's one day there are 14 manvantars, and different manus appear during this time. This is just happening in one day of Lord Brahma. And these manus, from art standpoint, their age is very, very big. Many, hundreds and thousands of years they live. But from the calculation of Lord Brahma, it's just like one manvantar, which is like 1 hour of his day. Not even that. So here it is mentioned that Manu, being the father of mankind, gave this to his son Ikshvaku. So Manu was the father of Ikshvaku, and he gave this knowledge to him, and the king of this earth planet and forefather of Raghu dynasty. So Ikshvaku king was from which this Raghu dynasty came, where Lord Ramchandra appeared. So Prabhupada is now giving the time period. How long is Kali Yuga? So generally, when we talk about time, we think about linear pattern, that okay, this happened, after that happened, and that. But time also has a cyclic component. Like for example, different months are there. So after January comes February, and then December is the last month, right? But then after December, what happens? It's not that nothing will come. After December, again January comes. So this is like a cyclic. December, January, February, then November, October, November, December, then January. So like that, it is like a cycle. So similarly, different yogas also happen like a cycle. Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug, Kali Yug, then again Satyug, like that. So Kali Yuga time period is 432,000 years. Now Dwapar Yuga is double than this. Treta Yuga is triple than this. Prabhupada has roughly mentioned here. Elsewhere Prabhupada specifies that how it is exactly, double like that. Prabhupada is mentioning that Manu spoke the Bhagavad Gita to his disciple and son Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of the planet Earth. The age of the current Manu is is calculated to last some 305,300,000 years. So this is how long a Manu is actually living. From the standpoint of Lord Brahma, it is very short time, but from our standpoint, it's so many millions of years. So here we see that significant amount of time these living entities are staying, and they are conducting themselves according to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. And he's not just conducting himself but teaching this. So Manu is giving it to Vivaswan. Vivaswan is giving it to Ikshvaku, like that. And Prabhupada is saying that it was re-spoken by Lord again to Arjun. And this was just recently 5,000 years ago. So if somebody says Bhagavad Gita is only 5,000 years ago, but some other books are even older, then you have to stop them and say, actually, Bhagavad Gita's knowledge is not 5,000 years old. It's eternal knowledge. And Krishna from time to time has given this knowledge. Previously, he has given this knowledge to the sun god. Then he gave it to Arjun recently, 5,000 years ago. But Krishna and the devotees of Krishna who are coming in disciplic succession, they are giving this knowledge to one generation, from one generation to another generation to another generation, so on and so forth. So that's why it is a knowledge which is to be learned in disciplic succession. Unless we understand it in the Guru Shishya Parampara from a bona fide spiritual master, we actually may not even understand, learn, and practically be able to apply the science. So it's very important to understand it through a bona fide personality. And Prabhupada here is mentioning sun god Vivaswan is also Kshatriya. These are all Kshatriyas. So even though they are, having the knowledge, it's not that they are they are sannyasis or renunciants. No, they are kings. They are Kshatriyas. Still they are learning and teaching. Even though we know that generally Brahmins are the ones who are teachers, but here these great personalities are called as Raj Rishi. So they are Rishi, they are great saints, and that's why they are able to teach this science to next generation. Prabhupada says that this particular knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is the cream here, is as good as the Vedas, which are spoken by the Supreme Lord. Because Vedas also come from the Lord and Bhagavad Gita also came from the Lord. And these books are called as Apurushaya, means they are superhuman. They are not by any human. Humans can't do this kind of work. So, when we understand that this is actually coming from God and we accept as it is, then we are able to really apply and make a huge difference. If we are not able to understand it as it is and we modify or speculate, then we will not get the maximum benefit. So, this is what Prabhupada is explaining here. All right. Anybody has any questions, any comments, any points from this shloka?
Just a few comments,
Yes,
few
Bhavani.
thoughts that came
Please.
up in my mind. Um, this is where I think this is so rich knowledge, so much in there. It's unimaginable. But at the same time, I think human human are doing so much. To some extent, they are doing. I mean, the technology has gone to the point that they are cloning human itself, at cloning living beings. But at the same time, I think all of this is governed by the supreme power, and it can be destroyed at any moment if that's what it is thought in the and that's what the God wants in Kali Yuga. Um, Beyond that, I never knew that Gita also talks about the sun and the sun's rotation in there. As I was reading, that kind of struck me, and I already thought that Bible talks about it, but it seems like Gita also talks about it. So my question is it always Is it always okay to accept the knowledge of Vedas or the any religious texts completely the way it is, or should human being gives a rational thoughts to it?
So Madhaji, do you know that the sun actually, according to modern science, the sun is actually moving all the time. You know this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how sun is moving in the galaxy and also rotating, and through that they get the, different kind of solar waves and radiations.
It is not talking about the sun's movement in relation to the earth. I'm
No,
just clarifying.
no, it's not talking
Okay.
about anything about that, but
Okay.
it's saying that according to the will of the Supreme Lord, the sun is rotating himself.
Okay.
But it's
Okay.
not saying around what. But
Okay.
then the other aspect is also, you know, uh, in physics, as you know, there is something called as relative motion. So relative to some place, another aspect can be talked about rotating also. Like for example, it's not necessarily that like in conventional speech, when we speak at home, it's not necessarily we are exactly accurate when we say ये टी शर्ट तेरे को छोटी हो गई है. अब
Hmm.
टी शर्ट छोटी नहीं हुई है. Actually the t shirt is the same size. The person has grown out of it, right?
Yes.
So in sometimes in speech that is used, but there is no emphatic um, statement made in such a way that earth is flat or earth is the center of everything, and this is that's not the whole point. The whole point is that it's sphere of reference sometimes is used in connection with explaining certain things. This come in Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto, where they talk about the cosmology. So in cosmology, relative motion of physics is actually used to explain certain orientation of certain planetary systems and stuff. But that's not being talked about in this particular purport.
Okay. Thank
Does
you.
it make sense?
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, thank you. But Krishna does talk about something similar later on. He will be talking about the motions, Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. I don't know if you're familiar with that concept, but this is relative to Earth's position, how the sun's position changes. And this will come in the eighth chapter, so we'll discuss at that time. But that is in context of the relative motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else would like to bring up any points? Thank you. That was very nice question and nice points you asked. And then again, I think the bottom line was how to understand the science of given the religious text. It is very important to learn it through authorized commentators, those who are bona fide. If we don't get it in the right authorized from the right person, then many times things actually may lose their value because they have not really got the training of it, and they have actually misinterpreted it and told a totally wrong idea, and then it actually brings up fanaticism and hatefulness rather than actually getting the best out of the people. So it is very important to get the knowledge from the right authorities and actually see how the application of that knowledge is transforming me from where I was to where I am now. So if it is actually happening, the transformation of the heart, that means the process is right and my application of the process is okay. Otherwise, either the process is not right, or my understanding is not right, or my application is not right. Something is missing if it is not causing us to have any transformation. Of course, patience and persistence is needed, and one has to wait, but it should not bring about uh, hatefulness, vengeance, exploitativeness, and those kind of things. If those are coming, then one has to stop and introspect and see, where the problem is. Does it make sense?
Yes, Babuji. I have another question if you don't mind.
Please.
So how many years, it does mention about how many years we have passed from the beginning. So how many, I'm just curious, how many years have we passed from the Kali Yuga? I know Gita was 5,000 years ago, it says,
Correct.
it was given
Correct.
to Arjuna. So how many years have we passed at this point?
So
Because
actually, just that's a good question. So just after the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna left, and after Krishna left, Kali Yuga began. So it's roughly about 5,000, give or take 100 years up or down, but
okay.
it's about 5,000 years ago, um, when when Kali Yuga started, and 432,000 years is the total duration of Kali Yuga. So only 5,000 years are gone. So 427,000 years are still remaining. And after the next 10,000 years, the next period will be Ghor Kali Yuga. Ghor Kali Yuga is when actually um, people will not have much understanding to take to spiritual life. So only in the next 10,000 years, most people who are able to get themselves aligned with this knowledge, they'll be able to actually get benefited and make the most of it. After that, it'll more be animalistic, and even though modern science wise one may have made some improvement, but spirituality wise, one's condition will actually go down. And it is predicted that with different age, with the progression of the Kali Yuga, um, the age, the strength, the memory, all these things are going down. So previous yuga, the age was much longer. Now, if somebody lives 100 years, it's a big thing. But towards the later part of the Kali Yuga, this age will even shrink down. So, with the use of medical science, currently we are seeing that life expectancy is increasing over the last few decades, but the quality of life is not improving. The
Mhm.
people are more and more unhealthy. They are more and more on medicines. Their ability of memory, their ability of doing things physically has significantly gone down. And um, so many genetic diseases have come, so many congenital inborn diseases have come, that people don't have as much big life expectancy. In the previous times, with the knowledge of Ayurveda, and with the knowledge of how to use and conduct the body nicely, and of course the influence of so many different other factors, um astrologically, astronomically, so many different ways. The duration was much bigger for people's life. Memory was so sharp. People used to memorize just by hearing. They will hear, and once, and they were like Shrutidhar. Shrutidhar means they will have this. But now we have to write down. We have to have the gadgets. Just you know 2 3 decades ago, we could remember phone numbers, 10-digit phone numbers, or 8-digit or 6-digit, easily we will remember. But now these days we are not using that muscle so much. So now it takes us time to actually remember. Most people can't even remember just one or two phone numbers they'll remember. But previously, 30, 35, 40 years ago, people used to remember 10, 15 phone numbers easily. Just a small example, but there are so many such examples which we can take. And Srimad Bhagavatam talks about all these different aspects, which Kalena Balena Rajan Langshati Ailu Balam Smriti. So all these things, with the power of time, influence of the time, they will actually go down in different people. We see so many diseases previously used to happen in only in old age, but now young people are also getting it for some or the other reason. Uh, very young, teenage or just early adults, they are getting diseases which were not so common in this particular age group in the past.
So we still have to pass 395,000 of Kali Yuga.
427,000.
Oh, 420. Okay, okay,
So
all right.
432 minus 5,
Mm,
427.
57. Yes, all right. I thought 500,000, 400,000. Okay. Thank you,
So
Prabhuji.
thank you. Thank you very much. Nice questions. Okay, anybody else would like to add anything, contribute to the discussion, or ask any further questions, share any thoughts? Okay. I was thinking of doing another shloka, but I think I will hold off because the discussion may extend. I think it is sufficient for us to kind of uh, meditate on this particular shloka and kind of read the first three chapters for this week, and then next week we'll start with the second shloka of this chapter. Is that all right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you so much. Granth Raj Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.